The slave auction on Kepler Station was something Marcus had seen before but never participated in. He was a mechanic, not a rescuer. He fixed machines, collected a paycheck, and stayed out of other people's business. But when he saw the Zeth girl on the block, no more than 12 years old, with her sensory tendrils severed at the base, something broke inside him. Deaf from birth, the auctioneer announced with the disinterest of someone hawking defective cargo. Useless for most labor. Starting bid, 50 credits. Nobody bid. A deaf alien with no tendrils was considered less valuable than scrap metal. After 10 minutes of silence, the auctioneer was about to move on when Marcus raised his hand. 100, he said. The auctioneer looked surprised. The stepfather who'd brought her to auction looked relieved. Within minutes, paperwork was signed and the girl was his responsibility. Her name was Kira. She communicated through basic sign language that her stepfather had taught her, just enough to take commands. She flinched when Marcus moved too quickly. She'd been beaten for disobedience she couldn't help, for ignoring orders she'd never heard. Trust was a language she didn't speak. Marcus set her up in his small quarters near the repair bay. He showed her where food was kept, set up a sleeping area, established routines with gestures and patience. He didn't try to fix her, didn't try to make her into something she wasn't. He just gave her space, safety, and time. 2 weeks in, something changed. Marcus was working on a spacecraft engine, using sonic frequency diagnostics to detect microfractures. The device emitted a high-pitched pulse, supposedly inaudible to human ears. He was concentrating so hard he didn't notice Kira until she was right beside him, pointing urgently at the device, her whole body tense. He turned off the diagnostic. Kira relaxed immediately. Marcus's mind raced. The stepfather had said she was deaf, but deaf from birth, or deaf in human frequencies. He'd assumed one thing without questioning it. He'd bought into the narrative presented to him. Over the next week, Marcus experimented carefully. He discovered that Kira could hear frequencies far below and above the human range. She perceived sound through vibrations humans couldn't feel. She wasn't deaf. She was simply deaf to the frequencies her stepfather had tried to use with her. To him, her deafness had been convenient. A child who couldn't respond to verbal orders, therefore couldn't disobey. The perfect slave. Marcus taught her to communicate differently. He found a frequency translator device in a salvage yard and modified it to work with her hearing range. When she heard her own voice translated into frequencies she could process, she cried, deep, shaking sobs of someone finally being heard. Her first word was why. Why did he say I was broken? She asked, her translated voice coming through the device in soft, halting patterns. Because he was broken, Marcus said simply. Not you. Never you. Kira began to speak more, her confidence growing. She was brilliant. Her mind had been working perfectly all along, just processing the world through different sensory channels. She helped Marcus in the repair bay, understanding mechanical vibrations in ways he couldn't. She could diagnose engine problems by listening to frequencies that indicated stress fractures before they became visible. When the station authorities came investigating Kira's presence, Marcus expected trouble. Buying a slave, even with good intentions, was illegal. The station commander listened to his explanation, then turned to Kira. Is this man holding you against your will? The commander asked. Kira looked at Marcus, really looked at him, and then back at the commander. No, she said through the translator. He's the first person who ever listened. The commander's expression softened. The law is complicated here, but there's a provision. For rehabilitation cases, if you're willing to take responsibility for her education, to prove she's not enslaved. He paused. Can you do that? Yes, Marcus said immediately. What followed was a process of paperwork, medical evaluations, and cultural integration. Kira enrolled in the station's education program. She thrived. Her unique hearing range became an asset. She was recruited by the station's acoustic engineering division before she was even 15. 5 years later, Kira was leading the frequency diagnostics team for the entire sector. She discovered new methods for detecting structural failures using her unique auditory perception. She'd also become Marcus's adopted daughter, Though the paperwork had been unnecessary, they'd been family from the moment he'd realized she wasn't deaf. She was just hearing differently. And sometimes, Marcus thought, the difference between broken and brilliant was simply a willingness to listen.